What's going on, y'all? Machiavelli Mills TV. So look, yesterday I was on social media and I saw a clip from one of my favorite podcasts out right now. It's the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast with Gillie and Wallo. And while I've gotten on Gillie's head for a lot of anti-black statements he's made in the past, and a lot of stuff that I didn't agree with that I thought was clowned out, I enjoyed the podcast due to Gillie and Wallo's relationship with one another. And in large part due to Wallo's reform, being a brother that spent 20 years in jail, you can never tell that brother did 20 years in jail. From how upbeat he is, how much of a positive, how he oozes positivity a lot, right? I watch him give advice to a lot of young brothers to end the cycle of violence because violence only begets more violence. It just becomes a endless reckless cycle of bloodshed, right? And he talks about trying to stop black men from going off on the deep end and detouring off into, basically stop them from crashing out. So I enjoy that brother's rhetoric. Nonetheless, I see a clip from the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast. They have Jay Prince and Jay Prince Jr. on there. And when I'm listening to the whole, they talking and everything. And this leads back into the Jay Prince Jr. and Migos saga. Jay Prince starts talking, and he starts talking about the situation with Takeoff, and then he starts to threaten Offset in the middle of his little, his soliloquy about, the whole situation. He starts to threaten Offset. And I'm like, what the hell? Wow. Right? So then Offset, he hears what Jay Prince has to say. Offset get on, social media. He start cussing out, trying to basically cuss out Jay Prince, snapping, going off. Because, Jay Prince and him talking about Offset start talking about, you wasn't even with Takeoff when it happened. Basically trying to allude that they wasn't even close around the time that this stuff happened. And why does he have to, basically trying to say that Offset shouldn't have nothing to say about nothing because he wasn't close with. I'm paraphrasing, but he's trying to allude to the fact that Offset wasn't close to Takeoff at the time this stuff happened. He wasn't even there with him. So why does he feel this, and why is he saying this, and why does he feel this type of way about the situation, right? All right, all that happened. My problem is this. As much as Gillie and Wallo, especially, I love Wallo, right? They preach positivity. Wallo preaches, the cycle of destruction ending amongst black men. And, Wallo he advocates for conflict resolution amongst black men, in the black community. Trying to teach black men to not act off impulse, to just ready to just go to violence and ready to just threaten each other over everything. He talks about conflict resolution a lot. For them to preach those type of things to the young generation and to talk about ending violence and so on and so forth, and then have Jay Prince on the show threatening Offset. Now again, they cannot control the words of a grown man. They couldn't tell Jay Prince, you can't say this, you shouldn't say this, you shouldn't say that. They have no control over that. My problem is them using that snippet of Jay Prince threatening Offset as their, like, the highlight clip to get people to come to the interview. That's disingenuous. That is not upright. And I speak of Wallo being an upright brother. And again, Gillie can talk some positivity, but I know Gillie is still for the bullshit in a lot of different ways. He really is. Even though he may talk some positivity, and he does some positive things in the community for sure. He for the bullshit on certain ends of the spectrum. And again, none of us are perfect. Because sometimes if somebody disrespect me, I can be for the bullshit at certain times. Not violence or whatever. But if you want to be petty with me and shiesty with me, hey, I'm going to throw some shots back at you, right? I understand that whole thing. But in particular, Wallo. Because again, that brother seems to be a upstanding man. I seen what he had when he had Lil Durk, an artist from my hometown, Chicago. He had Lil Durk on the podcast, and he was trying to tell Durk about, basically trying not to harbor on to a lot of the losses that he's taken over these years, in particular his brother, and don't let that lead him down a path of destruction and how he has to elevate above it, so on and so forth. If you talking like that to Durk, and then you got Jay Prince talking like that to Offset on your show, but then you use that as the clip to get everybody to watch the show, come on, brother, that is just it's counterproductive. It's counterproductive. It contradicts your message all across the board. If you're for black men not killing each other, not causing harm to each other, why would you put out a clip of a man basically telling him his consequences and repercussions behind you saying his name like that? Why would you use that clip of Jay Prince telling Offset basically telling him his consequences and repercussions behind saying his name? Why would you use that clip as a way to get people to clamor to the show? Come on, if you don't, again, people are attracted to drama. People are attracted to violence and bullshit and negativity. But if you're supposed to be a guy who's if you preach, being upright, elevating above the nonsense, if you preach young black men, using their head better and not being into turmoil with each other because we got bigger enemies in this world and we supposed to be together and all this and all of that. If you preach unity, black unity amongst men, how can you have a clip like that be the highlight to the episode? Now, people will probably just watch anyway because it's a lot of people who are enamored with the mafioso figure of Jay Prince, and now some might try to dispute that, so on and so forth. Some people are enamored with, they probably was going to watch anyway because they wanted to see what he has to say about the situation. They know he's involved and they know his name was tied into the situation with, he wasn't involved in the shooting, but his name is tied into the shooting in itself because Jay Prince's own son, Jay Prince Jr., who was there, he was there during the shooting of the podcast for $1 Million Worth of Game. Jay Prince Jr. was there the night that Takeoff was shot. So the episode was going to do numbers anyway because people want to know what Jay Prince and Jay Prince Jr. got to talk about regarding that situation. People were going to watch anyway. But to have that clip where he's threatening that other brother, and it can incite some bullshit to happen, that's not okay. That's not cool. Right? I can never salute that. Especially if you're going around talking about how we just for the community and we don't want violence to happen amongst our people. How can you push that and sell that? How? It's not upright. It's not okay. And I'll be a fool or a sucker to act like it's cool that happened and not talk about that. Because again, I watched Wallo and them, to be on some positive stuff like Wallo for real. And I know Wallo had to sign off on them posting that clip up. I'm looking like, nah, come on, y'all. If you really for black men elevating above the bullshit and growing, how can we have a clip like that? How can you make that clip the highlight for the episode? How can you use that clip to push the episode? Because all the people are going to do is go to that clip and, oh man, it's just starting a whole cycle of bullshit leading it to continue. Now Offset then got on the count on your social media, snapping, ready to go off. And situations like that, war can be waged. War can be started because of certain situations like that. Now, it already is what it is. They already seem to have some type of conflict with each other anyway. And somebody was going to highlight that clip anyway, regardless, right? But it's irresponsible for them to do it. Somebody's probably going to highlight that clip in an interview anyway on their own time, but let other folks do that. Don't use that clip as the way to market the episode. Because all it is, different than the record labels in that situation, marketing the beef with young black men in Chicago killing each other, using them songs and pushing those songs as the lead single for an album. Songs where they're talking about dissing dead ops. Different than them. Now again, it's a little different, but it's the context, the dialect was different than what a lot of the young boys talk, in their songs dissing each other. Jay Prince used a different dialect, and he wasn't talking about somebody dead in this situation. He was talking to Offset about another Offset's dead family member, his deceased cousin. But again, that type of stuff being marketing it like that, pushing it like that can lead to more BS happening and the cycle continuing. Come on, man. We supposed to be above that $1 Million Worth of Game podcast. How can you push that? It's no way that shouldn't even been a thing. That's not okay. I don't care who don't like it. Nah, that's not solid for them to put something like that to make that clip the highlight to try to get everybody to come in and run and gravitate to the show. That's corny. Me as a person, even if I got an episode that's just super dope, I can't push it, create a clip where we know if somebody died behind the situation. It's not just rap beef that they clipping. Rap beef, whatever. you know, look, competition, friendly competition, banter. Somebody died in a situation. Other people feel like the other group of people are responsible for the death, or like not responsible for it occurring, but they could have prevented it or could have handled the situation in a different way, right? One group feel like, oh man, my loved one is deceased. The other group of people could have handled this. They could have had a handle on this situation a little differently. It's gonna be static, but now you up in the ante. You up in the ante with this, man. It's just, yeah, man. I can't co-sign that. That's just me. Machiavelli Mills TV. I'm out. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Peace.